Hey artists, welcome back. This is part 2 of our salt dough lesson. If you have not seen part 1, please go back, learn how to make the salt dough. And for this lesson, I'm going to teach you how to press flowers and leaves into your dough and then how to form it into a bowl. So let's get started. So there are some additional items that you are going to need. So while you're waiting for your salt dough to firm up a bit in the fridge, grab a rolling pin and go outside and maybe collect some leaves, some flowers, anything that you would want to actually press and imprint into your dough. I've also put down some wax paper for my station just because I'm using my dining room table. So you saw that I took the dough out of the plastic. I first kind of formed it into a pancake, and then you're going to use your rolling pin to start rolling it out, very similar to creating cookies. After you have rolled it back and forth a few times, pick it up, flip it over, and rotate it. We want to create a circle instead of just a long horizontal or vertical strip. We want to try and expand it from all directions. As you are rolling out your dough, you want to try and keep in mind you want to have it about 1/4 of an inch thick. It could be a little bit thicker because when we go to press in the flowers and the leaves, it'll get a little bit thinner. What you don't want to do is go too thin because then your dough is just going to rip. Once your dough is, like I said, 1/4 of an inch thick or so, you're gonna start placing your flowers and your leaves in an interesting design. Now, if you don't have flowers and leaves or anything to use from outside, you can also use like Legos or toys or really anything from around your house. It's just going to be leaving an impression or like a stamp into the surface of the dough. Once you have placed your objects on top of the dough, notice that I didn't press them in just yet. I just laid them on top because now I'm going to take the rolling pin and that's what's actually going to press it into the surface of the dough. So I'm just rolling a couple times. I'm not pressing too hard. I don't want to over flatten the dough, but I'm just allowing the flowers to get pressed in. I also went and did a second time with one of these harder branches, and I loved this. The sagebrush just left the most beautiful design. So now at this point, we're done. We're going to start carefully peeling out the leaves and the flowers. Now, depending on what type of nature that you use, it might come off really, really easily, or you may need to use a tiny stick or some tweezers to get all the petals out. But look at that sagebrush, OMG. It is so beautiful. So now we're gonna actually take our dough and we're gonna form it into a bowl. So you'll see right now, I can't decide and I can't make up my mind if I wanted to line the bowl with plastic or not. Don't do what I'm doing. Use that plastic, line the bowl. I ended up going back later to add the plastic after the fact. So line the inside of the bowl with plastic wrap, and then you're going to be taking your dough and just carefully slumping it on the inside using really light fingers to just kind of press into the shape of that bowl. Now I'm using just little different nesting bowls. This one is just a medium size. You could go big, you can go small, however much dough that you actually made. But notice how light my fingers are. You don't want to get your fingerprints and all that jazz inside the actual dough. So again, I decided against right now to put the plastic in the bowl, but later you'll see I went back and added plastic. So we don't want these to get stuck inside the bowl as they dry. Now you can also keep that natural edge of the dough, but if you want it to be a little bit more refined and perfect, you could take a little knife and just carefully press into the dough and just carve the top edge and then just peel it off. And now you can see really how thick that dough actually is. It's a beautiful 1/4 inch. So now you're basically done. We just have to wait for the bowl to dry. Now, depending on how thick your dough actually is, it could take anywhere between 1 to 3 days to dry completely. And I do want to just put this out for all of you dog and animal lovers. As you guys are letting this dry, please, please, please keep this dough away from your animals. They might want to eat it, and this is really toxic for them because of all that salt. So set it up somewhere high to dry, come back to it in a couple of days, and you can paint them. You can seal them with glue if you wanted to really use it for storing things, but you're really done. We just have to let it dry now. So after I had imprinted this really beautiful blue purple flower, I noticed that it left a little bit of this like indigo stain into the dough. So if you're not familiar, back in the original days of creating art, paint was made from found materials. And so I thought it would be kind of fun to see what happens if I were to kind of smash up all of the petals from this flower and then add a little bit of water. So that's what I'm doing. I'm just using my knife and a little bowl to just kind of smash them up. And this particular flower is really slimy, but I just added a little bit of water, and then the rest of this video I'm just kind of painting it, and it actually created this really stunning blue tint. And I'm just curious to see what happens as the salt dough dries, if that will stay as strong or if it will just kind of disappear. But for now, I'm just experimenting. You can do this with really any flower petals. So if you had like a sunflower or little daisies or little cherry blossoms, really anything that you are gonna smash, you're gonna get that natural pigment to come out of the petals. And when you mix it with water, you can actually just paint with it. So experiment, have fun. Otherwise, you can paint these bowls or keep them the plain white color that they are once they're dry. All right, enjoy or skip over this part. Okay, bye. Thank you so much for creating with me. This was so fun. Cannot wait to hear how you guys use this method.